Well, it's 2017, and you know what that means, and neither do I. Now, in years past around this time, I've tried to make some New Year's resolutions. But frankly, I just find it too discouraging when, despite my best intentions, a couple of weeks go by, and I find myself once again standing in a motel room dressed as a teddy bear, holding a smoking gun over the body of a girl in a French maid's outfit. So this year instead, I've decided to make other people's New Year's resolutions for them, and let them kill the girl. For instance, I think Democrats should resolve this year to recommit themselves to their core values and stand on those principles until every single voter in America is a Republican. I think Barack Obama should resolve to bring to his post-presidential career the same sort of patriotic joie de vivre and full-throated faith in Western values that made his administration a time of inspiration and uplift for everyone who believes that Allahu Akbar is just the right thing to shout before you blow up a shopping center. I think Hillary Clinton should resolve to use her now copious spare time to take up some useful hobbies, like knitting or cooking, so that Bill Clinton has a welcoming home to come to after a long day of slaving away over a hot prostitute. And now that he's done working with Hillary, I think her running mate Tim Kaine should resolve that he's finally going to get that sex change operation and find out what life is like as a man. I think Republicans ought to resolve that now that they control the House, the Senate, and the White House, they might occasionally take some time off from rolling over for every Democrat proposal that comes down the pike. They could just roll over for their own personal pleasure, maybe in the grass or on that nice fuzzy rug in the living room. I think the reporters at CNN should resolve that they will continue to cover Donald Trump with a dogged, informed, and professional attitude of complete mindless hysteria, so that every time the man speaks, they run around in circles with their hands thrown up in the air, screaming in high-pitched voices until they all fall down together in a heap, exhausted and sobbing. This will give CNN reporters something to do while the rest of us are watching the news on other channels. And finally, I think soon-to-be President Donald Trump should resolve to commit himself fully to upholding the values of the American Constitution, which is that crinkly brown piece of paper with the funny writing on it, in the big glass case in the rotunda of the National Archives, the one that starts with never mind. Just try not to break anything. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hooray!
I missed that song. I missed that song while I was away. It's like I wanted like my wife to just wake me up singing that song, just so I could feel at home even while I was gone. It's Mailbag Day. Woohoo! It's Mailbag Day. We've got some great questions about relationship questions this time. So you want to stay around for that, even though if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, after about 15 minutes, the floor is going to just disappear from underneath you. We're going to drop you into darkness, and you'll have to come to thedailywire.com to hear the rest of the show. There, you can subscribe. And for just a lousy $8 a month, you can ask your question in the mailbag next week. All right, so it's kind of, we had a little bit of a comedy yesterday. I mean, there's stuff going on as we speak on Capitol Hill, but I just want to comment on like the fact that it's really still slow news time, coming out in the new year until the inauguration. It's going to be slow news time. And what happens in slow news time, because you have this 24/7 news cycle, whatever is the most interesting story rises to the top, even if it's unimportant. So what you had yesterday was people covering stories that didn't matter at all, like this story about the House Republicans trying to kind of neutralize this ethics committee that nobody likes, by the way, because it doesn't follow due process. So the House Republicans went behind closed doors and tried to neutralize it. Incredibly bad optics, because let's not forget, this is still the stupid party. I mean, these are the stupidest people in America are sent to be Republicans. So they always say it's the stupid party versus the evil party, and we'll see that that's exactly what's taking place. Trump sent out a tweet, don't you have anything better to do, basically, than do this? And they said, oh, okay, maybe we won't make ourselves look like corrupt fools just as we have a chance to drain the swamp. So that changed. But the real thing that's going on is the Senate went right to work trying to repeal Obamacare, which they're going to do with this obscure, I won't get into the high weeds about it, but they have this obscure budget rule that means they'll be able to do a lot of it. They'll be able to gut the law with only a majority. And the problem they have, of course, is that Trump has again started tweeting saying Republicans must be careful in that the Dems own the failed Obamacare disaster with its poor coverage and massive premium increases like the 116% hike in Arizona. Also, deductibles are so high that it's practically useless. Don't let the Schumer clowns out of this web, he says. Massive increases of Obamacare will take place this year, and Dems are to blame for the mess. It will fall of its own weight. Be careful. And what he's saying, of course, is if they immediately get rid of the coverage, then all these people are going to be without coverage. It'll be just as big a disaster as it was when they instituted the plan. But of course, the press, which had total mercy on Obama when that was happening, will have no mercy on Trump. So here's Paul Ryan and Mike Pence are up on Capitol Hill, and here is Ryan talking about how they're going to handle this with a mixture of legal maneuvers from the legislature, but also executive orders from Trump.
We've been saying all along, we don't want to pull the rug out from people while we're replacing this law. The point is, in 2017, we don't want people to be caught with nothing. We want to make sure that there's an orderly transition so that the rug is not pulled out from under the families who are currently struggling under Obamacare while we bring relief. Yeah.
Speaker, President Prince, on the ACA repeal and replace, can you give detail on the executive actions that are planned, and how does that square with the complex budgetary process that's also involved?
They're hand in glove. So we're working on the legislative process right now. As you know, the Senate's going to be acting first next week, then the Congress will follow, which gives us the budget resolution we need to bring the legislation through while the administration works on the executive orders that they're talking about to deliver the kind of transition relief that we've been talking about. The problem is, just remember, Obamacare has failed. Families are hurting. They broke the healthcare system. It's a string of broken promises. So we're going to make sure that we have an orderly transition to a better system so we can get back to what we all want, which is lower cost healthcare, more choices, so that families can actually get affordable healthcare at a decent price with more choices, more competition, and not a costly government takeover that has really bankrupt this healthcare system and left families struggling.
So they're serious. They're going to do this. You know, they've been sitting. You know, we've been picking on the Republicans for not doing this when they didn't, and they kept saying we need a president, and they are going right to work on it. And meanwhile, of course, now remember, Obamacare is basically the only legislative triumph of this administration. It's the only thing they did the way presidents are supposed to do things. Everything else has just been regulations, weighting down business. And of course, he did have this triumph of blowing the Middle East to smithereens. Right? So if we get rid of Obamacare, basically Obama's gone, like he's just a memory. So Obama is also on Capitol Hill strategizing with Democrats on how they're going to save the plan. And here he is talking about that. Lame duck. I got like 17 days to keep that joke going. Okay. So meanwhile, we get to see. Well, wait. Before we do that, let's just talk about this tweet thing, because Trump sends out these tweets. He sent out a tweet. Stop. Knock it off with the ethics thing. They knock it off with the ethics thing. He sends out a thing. Be careful. Because Republicans are dumb. They're so used to being attacked by the press that it doesn't even occur to them to play the press, to play the public, because now that there's the internet, they can look good if they do the right thing. But Trump has got his eye. He has got his eye on the public, and he knows, he's a TV star. That's what he does. So, he knows what the public is thinking, and he says, be careful about this. The other thing he has been doing is tweeting at businesses, telling them to keep their jobs in America. So he tweeted at General Motors to keep their, they were making a car partially in Mexico. And then there's this thing with Ford. Now, all on the campaign trail, Trump was railing against Ford for building a new factory in Mexico. And this is part of his greater antagonism with NAFTA, right? Because NAFTA allows you to move your jobs to Mexico without any tariffs. And he thinks that's just a bum deal for America. So this was Trump on the campaign trail railing against Ford.
Ford has announced just yesterday that they're moving their small car production facilities to Mexico. And I've been talking about this a long while, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons that we're doing so well in Ohio and Michigan and lots of other places where cars and parts are involved. But to think that Ford is moving its small car division is a disgrace. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful that our politicians allow them to get away with it. It really is. It used to be cars were made in Flint, and you couldn't drink the water in Mexico. Now, cars are made in Mexico, and you can't drink the water in Flint.
So, okay, that was Trump on the campaign trail. Here is Ford's CEO yesterday.
We're also encouraged by the pro-growth policies that President-elect Trump and the new Congress have indicated that they will pursue. And we believe that these tax and regulatory reforms are critically important to boost U.S. competitiveness and, of course, drive a resurgence in American manufacturing and high-tech innovation. Now, all of these factors, coupled with segmentation shifts that we're seeing in the marketplace, and our effort, of course, to fully utilize the capacity at existing facilities, have prompted us, obviously, to invest in Flat Rock's expansion and to cancel building a new plant in Mexico.
Gee, America's great again. I'm tired of winning already. Now look, all this stuff is for show. You know, you don't want the president. He's not the president yet, so he can say basically anything he wants. But we don't want the president bullying companies. But these companies say what they say is that they are staying here because Trump has promised them that regulations and taxes are going to go down, and that is a good thing. That's a positive thing. But there's also something else going on. Now listen to this. This is the Wall Street Journal this morning. The U.S. manufacturing sector entered the new year with the wind at its back. Remember, manufacturing has been in the doldrums for 8 years. It finished 2016 with its strongest growth in 2 years. The Institute for Supply Management on Tuesday said its Purchasing Managers Index rose to 54.7% in December from 53.2% in November, beating economists' expectations for a more modest rise and hitting its highest level since December 2014. So suddenly in December, everything went up. This is a reflection, this is a quote from the guy who oversees the ISM survey. This is a reflection of consumer activity, and I think people are just feeling better for whatever reason about the economy. Now, what reason could they have to feel better in December than they felt the month before? I wonder what it is, you know? It's like this is, consumer activity is a question of attitude, and Trump is playing the attitude. And so this stuff that he's doing, it makes me a little queasy to watch him, pushing companies around because companies should be able to go wherever they want. But he is right about fair trade. You do want, if there are tariffs on one side, it's fair to put tariffs on the other side. And a lot of this is for show and to make consumer confidence and to build consumer confidence until he can get in there. And then he's going to have to, you can't just go from company to company, terrorizing CEOs. You ultimately have to make this a nice place to do business. And Obama has done everything he can to keep that from happening. Meanwhile, we have Chuck Schumer, who is leading the opposition, making this kind of bitter little remark. This is numbers 5. Cut number 5, this little remark from the of the Senate.
So, Mr. President, the issues facing this country are many. We have a lot of work to do, creating jobs, raising incomes, making college and health care affordable, rebuilding our infrastructure, making trade laws work for the American worker, keeping Americans safe from threats of violence and terrorism, taking care of our vets. Now, each one takes serious thought and action. These issues are too important for mere words. Our challenges too entrenched for mere tweeting. Making America great again requires more than 140 characters per issue. With all due respect, America cannot afford a Twitter presidency.
Yeah, except that on Twitter he's slapping this guy silly. How silly? Did you notice what he called Trump? Mr. President. Trump, guess what? And Obama was really angry about that. Here's what he said. Have I mentioned that Obama's a lame duck? I forgot whether I said that already. I don't want to repeat myself or anything. So Schumer is so confused, so slapped silly that he's already calling Trump Mr. President. And I think we all agree that Trump, in some sense, is certainly one of the most powerful president-elects I've ever seen. We have to say goodbye to you if you're on Facebook or YouTube and cast you into the exterior darkness where there is great wailing and gnashing of teeth. But come to thedailywire.com. You can listen to the rest. If you subscribe for a lousy $8 a month, you can watch the whole thing and not have to bounce around like this.